I honestly didn't think it would go this far. But the moment I heard Karen screaming at the top of her lungs while neighbors rushed outside, I knew my plan had worked better than I ever imagined. What started as a small frustration turned into something much bigger, something that completely flipped the power in our neighborhood overnight. The strange part is, none of it looked intentional from the outside. To everyone else, it probably seemed like chaos unfolding out of nowhere, but there was a reason behind every step, every delay, every decision I made leading up to that moment. And once you see how it all connects, you'll understand why I don't regret a single second of it. At the time, everything about my routine felt completely normal. I had ordered a simple package online, nothing expensive or unusual, just something I needed delivered while I was out for the day. Our neighborhood had always felt quiet, almost too controlled in a way, thanks to the homeowners association. Every lawn trimmed perfectly, every trash bin timed like clockwork, and at the center of it all was Karen, the self-appointed enforcer of every rule, walking around with that clipboard like she owned not just the streets, but the people living on them. She had a reputation for being overly strict, but stealing? That didn't even cross my mind. So when I got home and saw my package missing, I didn't jump to conclusions. I stood there for a moment, trying to make sense of it, wondering if maybe it had been delayed or dropped off at the wrong house. There was no sign of forced entry, no broken boxes, nothing that screamed theft. Just an empty spot where something should have been, and a quiet feeling that something wasn't quite right. At first, I tried to brush it off as bad timing, maybe even a simple mistake, but that explanation didn't last long. A few days later, another package disappeared, and this time I knew something wasn't right. I started paying closer attention, watching delivery times, checking notifications, even stepping outside more often than usual just to see if I could catch anything out of place. That's when I spoke to my neighbor, who casually mentioned he had seen the delivery truck stop at my house earlier that day. He was certain something had been dropped off. That detail stuck with me. It ruled out delays and pushed me towards something I didn't want to assume. Still, I called the delivery company hoping for a different answer, but they confirmed it clearly. The package had been delivered exactly where it was supposed to be. That was the moment the situation shifted in my mind. This wasn't random anymore. It wasn't bad luck or a simple mix-up. Someone had taken it after it arrived, and the more I thought about it, the more it felt intentional. Not just theft, but a pattern forming right in front of me. That's when I decided guessing wasn't enough anymore. I needed proof, something solid that would turn suspicion into certainty. So I went out and bought a couple of small hidden cameras, the kind you wouldn't notice unless you were actively looking for them. I placed them carefully, covering the front porch from just the right angles, making sure nothing could slip by unseen. Then I waited. I ordered another package, nothing special, just enough to serve as bait, and made sure I wasn't home when it was scheduled to arrive. The waiting felt longer than it should have, like time had slowed just to test my patience. When I finally got back and saw the package was gone again, I didn't feel surprised this time. I went straight inside, pulled up the footage, and hit play. At first, it was just the usual, the delivery driver dropping off the box and walking away. But then, a few minutes later, she appeared. Karen. Calm, confident, like she had done this before. She walked right up, picked up my package without hesitation, and left. I just stared at the screen, caught between disbelief and something almost like amusement. But that feeling didn't last. It quickly turned into something sharper, more focused. Now I knew, and that changed everything. I didn't rush to confront her even though I had all the proof I needed. Something about the situation told me that a direct argument would only give her more power to twist the story in her favor. People like Karen don't react to logic. They react to control, and I realized I wasn't going to win this by playing her game. So instead, I started thinking differently, more carefully. I replayed everything I knew about her, every complaint she had ever made, every reaction she had ever shown in the neighborhood meetings. And then it hit me. There was one thing she genuinely couldn't handle: spiders. I remembered how she once completely lost her composure over a harmless one during a meeting, screaming and refusing to sit in the same room until someone removed it. That memory stayed with me longer than I expected. It wasn't just fear. It was irrational panic. That was when the idea started forming in my mind, not as an impulse, but as something calculated. If she was going to keep taking things that weren't hers, maybe she needed a reminder she couldn't ignore. I began researching quietly, carefully, looking into options that would be safe but terrifying enough to send a message. Every detail mattered now: how it would be delivered, when it would arrive, and how it would be discovered. I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was building something, step by step, and the closer I got to finishing the plan, the more I could already imagine how it was going to unfold. By the time everything was ready, I had stopped thinking of it as just a plan and started seeing it as a controlled experiment. The package itself looked completely harmless from the outside, almost inviting. I made sure of that. Bright wrapping, clean edges, and a neat label that made it look like something valuable had arrived by mistake. Inside, everything was secured safely, but that didn't matter to anyone looking from a distance. What mattered was perception. I placed it right on my porch, exactly where any delivery would normally sit, and adjusted the angle so it was clearly visible from the street. Then I stepped back and checked the cameras one more time, making sure every corner of the scene was covered. There was no room for guessing anymore, only observation. The waiting started again, but this time it felt different. Heavier, like something inevitable was slowly making its way toward the surface. And then, just like before, she appeared. Karen came out of her house with the same confident stride, scanning the street like she was checking ownership rather than surroundings. She paused for a second when she saw the package, and I could almost predict the exact thought going through her mind. No hesitation, no caution, just certainty. She walked straight up to my porch, grabbed the package without asking a single question, and turned back toward her house as if nothing about it was unusual. I stayed perfectly still, watching from a distance, knowing she had just stepped exactly where I needed her to. The moment she got inside, everything slowed down in my mind, like the whole neighborhood had gone quiet just to watch what would happen next. I stayed across the street, eyes locked on the camera feed, waiting for the exact second reality would catch up with her. She placed the package on her table, still acting completely normal, completely confident, like nothing in the world could possibly go wrong for her. Then she opened it. At first there was confusion. I saw it in her body language, the slight pause, the hesitation as she looked inside. And then it hit her. The realization. The shift. The second she understood what she was looking at, everything broke loose. She screamed so loud it echoed even through the camera audio. Stumbling back so fast she knocked over her chair. People started reacting outside almost instantly. Lights turning on, doors opening, neighbors stepping out to see what was happening. And there she was, Karen, the same woman who used to walk around the neighborhood with complete authority, now panicking in her own living room like she had lost all control. The spider itself wasn't even doing anything aggressive, just sitting there, harmless but intimidating in appearance. But that didn't matter. In her mind, it was chaos. She burst out of her house moments later, still screaming, while everyone watched the scene unfold like it was some kind of public performance she could never take back. After that night, something in the neighborhood shifted almost immediately. The small disappearances that had quietly frustrated people for weeks stopped without explanation, as if the habit had been cut off at its source. Deliveries started arriving safely again, left exactly where they were supposed to be, untouched and undisturbed. It didn't take long for the situation to reach the HOA board, especially after multiple neighbors confirmed what they had seen and the footage began circulating. Karen, who once carried herself like she was untouchable, suddenly found herself answering questions she couldn't deflect. The same authority she used to enforce strict rules on everyone else was now being turned back on her. Consequences followed quickly, including financial penalties and required reimbursements for the missing items, along with a formal warning about abusing her position. But what lingered most wasn't the official outcome. It was the change in how people looked at her afterward. The confidence was gone, replaced with avoidance and silence. From my side, I didn't feel anger anymore, just a strange sense of closure, like a chapter had finally ended the way it was supposed to. And that was the moment everything changed in our neighborhood. So tell me, do you think she really deserved what happened, or did it go too far? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe for more real HOA-style drama like this, because the next one might be even crazier than this.